Chapter. Told you.
Oh, I have to push continue. Okay.
Yes.
I'm being recorded.
Yep. So we're recording right now. Now we have MelEesa here, and then she's going to talk about her illustrations that will be selling at the Draw.online store. But before that, MelEesa, maybe you can give like a little info about you for people who have not seen your works before or know about you.
About me. I've been a fashion designer for 15 years. I've been trying to be a fashion illustrator for as long as I can remember from fashion school. And unfortunately, until Instagram was created, it really wasn't something that North America had. And since then, I've just been again in love with the art form and just working with a great community like Draw to try and bring it back. I also work in the film industry and in animation. So I do costume illustration and design, and I also do animation design and illustration. So I'm kind of all over the board. I bounce back and forth, but it's been a fun career. So
that's amazing. And how will you describe your styles?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that. So hard to answer that question. One of the things I've always wanted to be a comic book illustrator, and I even went to Comic-Con and took my portfolio and was like, here. And they're like, cool, you're not a good drawer, but you're great at coloring. And I was like, okay, cool, you should be a colorer. So it's something that I really like took to heart. I mean, you can take that as a bad way, but for me, I was like, okay, I really need to focus on color. Yep. I think for me, what stands out is that highlight the light and darkness that I bring to my illustrations. My line art, my line work is very prominent, which is very, comic booky, I guess. Yep. And then I have a lot of movement, like everything. I love action and like emotion and push and pull in all my illustrations. And I guess the last thing, and I thought hard about this, is because I'm a designer first, my style stays the same, but my content changes. So I do a lot of research of like, I'm inspired by this, I'm inspired by this, and then I fuse it together and come up with a completely different way of doing things. And that's something I do in my day-to-day world. And I've realized that that's what makes me a unique illustrator as well. So I'm probably more of a designer first before I'm an artist.
Yes, and I really love like the details in your works as well. Like when we get to see your illustrations, people will know. So
that's also OCD. So that's part of that, but that's fine. Clinical.
Okay, I have no problem with that. I feel like you're also a perfectionist, so that explains a lot as well.
Yes. Yes.
So, okay, so we're actually going to look at your illustration right now that will be selling. So this is the first piece. Like, tell us the inspiration or what's the story behind this piece?
The story behind this was this dress actually exists. So Jeremy Scott did it for Moschino, and then Zendaya wore it on the red carpet to promote, I think it was The Greatest Showman. And so I did I just did a red carpet illustration, and it got reposted by everybody, including Jeremy, including Moschino. And I just fell in love with this dress. I've always loved butterflies. But when you and I started talking about, like how to make art pieces out of my work as opposed to just straight up illustration, I was watching, in my spare time, I read a lot of 19th century or 18th century literature, like by females. And so I love romanticism, like Jane Austen, Thomas Hardy, Alcott, that kind of thing. So I wanted to create a romantic / Art Nouveau, but new age version. And I'm watching a lot of Dickinson right now, which is the new iTunes show. If you've not seen it, it's so good. It's Haley Steinfeld. She's brilliant in it. It's so witty. And Dickinson has this beautiful poem called The Butterfly's Namibian Dress. And it basically just refers to the burnt orange colors from like Northern Africa and how it's just beautifully done. And so that was kind of the focal point for here. And then again, fusing kind of romanticism and Art Nouveau style. So
what about like the color palette? Because it's really like you only use selective like colors, right?
Yeah,
Because when you
it
like,
was inspired by that poem by Emily Dickinson, where she just talks about the Namibian dress, which is the landscape of Northern Africa is like these burnt oranges, and the spices are like these reds and oranges. And I really wanted that to be the focal point that stands out and helps support the dress. And the rest of it just kind of adds, I mean, it's just a complementary color, right? So it just kind of helps pop and adds mood to it.
it
So
looks
it's not
really,
a traditional color palette for me, and you know that.
it's really romantic, and I feel like this might be a really good print to put at the hallway of the
Oh
house. When
yeah.
you first enter, you see that, because when I look at that circle, it reminds me of a mirror.
That's what everyone says. It's actually a hole in a garden gate. You can see the slats. So the literature I read, they always talk about walking in the garden at night or whatever, something stupid like that. And so I love traditional French and English gardens. And so this is kind of a nod to that. So
Cool.
yeah, and it does kind of look like a mirror, so it can go either way, I suppose.
So yeah, so if you want this piece, you should get it like soon, because there's only 25 prints available, and then it's only available for a month.
Yeah.
So if
And
you,
it is actually quite brighter than it's shown here,
yeah,
just because of the JPEG and on the screen. But yeah, it'll definitely be a great like accent and pop off the
yeah,
wall. So
absolutely. All right,
yeah.
so we are gonna go to the next piece. This one. This one is a really different like vibe. This is sort of
I
like
know.
galaxy.
It is. It's very, I read a lot of sci-fi too. Like I'm all over the board when it comes to stuff. And romantic sci-fi, I guess that makes more sense here.
Yeah.
Originally, this was for an open call you did
Mhm.
for Valentino.
Yeah.
So, and I was one of your finalists, which was really cool. Thank you for that. But on my Instagram, I had 3 dresses and I wanted my followers, whatever, to pick which dress, and I picked this blue one. So the whole theme of this line, I believe, was like Greek mythology,
Mhm.
was one of them, right? And so I actually picked the Greek goddess Selene, whose job it is to bring the moon across the sky at night. And of course, I was like, well, why not put her in this haute couture dress on a swing? You know, it makes sense. That's who I would be if I was a Greek goddess. So I tried. But I guess another thing, the whole line was also inspired by Deborah Tuberville,
Mhm.
who, if you look at her photographs, it's always these women with these like dreamy, mysterious gazes.
Yep.
And so I kind of wanted to play along with that in this. And again, like you can see the daylight coming on the right versus the night on the back. And she's got this mysterious dark universe in the form of a man behind her. I don't know, there's a lot of depth to it.
So basically, the viewer has to complete their own story when look at this image.
Yes, it might also be said that there was some reading of romance novels happening while this was.
Because when I look at it, I'm like, who is this man? This man looks like James Bond, but then I still can't figure that out. I've been thinking about this over and over again. I,
Well, I
I
love that she's by herself. I love that like he wants to be there, but she's like, no, I got this.
yeah, I feel like this piece will be just good in the study room, like workroom, because when you're
Yeah.
out of ideas, you just look at this piece, you're like, who is this man?
I mean, also you can see the lines and like atoms and chemistry. There's a little chemistry. I got super nerdy when I think about these things. So
Actually really cool though, like when you combine fashion and then you combine science together, you create this kind of artwork. That's just why you don't see it from other like illustrators. That's why your pieces are unique.
thank you. I would put this, I think this is more of a bedroom piece for me personally. That's probably where I would put it. But
Do you want to wake up and just look at this piece like, who is this man?
I just love the dress. Like I'm so obsessed with the dress, and I love that the moonlight behind it is like illuminating it, and it's all about the dress and not about him. It's just like,
Okay.
I don't know. That's my view.
All right. I'm just gonna move to the next piece, and then we're gonna talk about the next piece.
Well, if you want to talk about science, the next piece is very sciencey.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about this one.
Okay, so again, on here, it's a lot more vibrant than it's showing on screen. So it's not so, I don't know, it looks misty. It's very vibrant. There's a lot of blue. I mean, the bubbles have a lot more color and pop to it. So look on screen, not on this. So this guy is probably the most personal sketch I've ever done. If I wanted to create something that was important to me and symbolic to the history of my family, this would be it. It started, this is a longer story. It started with an open call by you, Iris Van Herpen in 2016.
Yep.
And the top dress, the bubble dress, not this particular one, but a different version, was my first digital illustration. And I've told you this before, but I remember when I was done, I was like, I've made it as an illustrator. I can never do anything better. It's like, wow, I'm good at this. And now I look back, I'm like, that's awful. I can't believe I do that. But this is an Iris Van Herpen thing. And at the beginning of COVID, they did like kind of an open call, like use any of our dresses from any time period, be inspired. And they never posted any of them. But anyway, I'm obsessed with that brand. So I did this and I chose these two dresses because I wanted to kind of do a symbolic illustration using science and fashion, because that's what she's known for. She uses a lot of technology to do her dresses. So what's the biggest thing in North America? NASA. And I was lucky that I grew up in Jetmore, Kansas. And right next to that is Burdett, Kansas, where Clyde Tombaugh was neighbors with my great-grandfather, best friends, related through marriage. I don't know how it worked. He discovered Pluto. And so I have pictures of my family with him on the farm. It's a big tradition and history in my family. And in 2015, NASA sent New Horizons. Actually, it passed Pluto, and what they discovered, they took a bunch of pictures, and on the southern hemisphere was a bunch of red, which you obviously can't see from here. But what that means to, people who aren't super nerdy and crazy, is that means there's life form on the planet of some form. There's photosynthesis. And so what I wanted to do here is the dress on the bottom kind of creates a galaxy, and the fabric of life kind of flowing and floating around in the universe. And fun fact, I'll point from here, but you can't see it. There's the star cluster in the dress that Clyde Tombaugh used to discover Pluto. So that's actually in the dress. If you find it, you'll get something. I don't know. I haven't figured out what that would be yet, but you can get something from me. And the top illustration represents obviously bubbles, life coming to the surface, the realization of that we're not the only people in the universe. And then my favorite part is the bubbles going in between the fingers. And the rumor was when Clyde passed away that he wanted to be buried or have his ashes scattered on Pluto. And the rumor is when New Horizons passed that they did that. So that's kind of the connecting of the two worlds of, darkness and light, him and Pluto. There's a lot to it. So
that's a lot to digest.
I know. I feel bad. I wrote it down because it's a lot, but of all the things that I've ever done, this is the one that's the most.
It's super cool though. Like, I like the composition. I love like the details in this like piece. It's just it's really magical.
Thank you.
Like, where will you put it in your house though? Like, if you have time.
This one to me is very inspirational, and it is, like I said, it's a lot brighter than what it looks here. I would put it in my office. It's something that I want to see a lot because there's a lot of push and pull and movement. So it just keeps my eye engaged, and then I dream. So that's where I would put it. Where would you put it?
Bubbles. Like, for some reasons, I just keep looking at the bubbles.
Yeah.
Which is.
I mean, who doesn't want a bubble dress? No, maybe not you. I would love a bubble dress.
All right. Well, we are gonna move to another piece right now. So this is the Zodiac series you are doing for Draw Dot. Basically, it's gonna last for 12 months. And this is what Zodiac is this one?
Taurus.
So why do you decide to like create an illustration like with jewelry?
Well, that's a very simple explanation because when we all decided to do this, there's three of us at the beginning, Glenn, Shemek, and me. And when you research fashion and Zodiac, literally Shemek just takes up the whole Google, like every single page of Google is his. So he pretty much owns this space. And so when I knew that Glenn was going to do surrealism because that's what he does.
Yep.
So in my head, I was like, how can I do this differently, but still be fashion illustration? And what I came up with was jewelry, because you guys in Drawdot had done several jewelry open calls.
Yep.
I was like, okay, this is how, if I was to personally wear something that was Zodiac inspired, I'd do it with jewelry. So that was the inspiration for all of this. Obviously you can see I'm really into the galaxy. This whole thing is very like galaxy driven.
Futuristic.
Sorry?
A little bit futuristic too, from what I see. Like, I don't know, it's just so neat and so new. Like, to me, I think it's really refreshing.
It's a different style for me. I've not done anything like this before. You know, I'm known for my detail on things. So I wanted to focus on the pieces itself. So you can see she's doing kind of like almost like horns with her hands.
Yep.
Because this is the bowl. And Taurus are interesting people because they're very loyal, but they love materialistic things. So I wanted to bling her out. She was going to wear gold. So I gave her a giant bowl on her finger, and it's not on her middle finger. I should put it on her middle finger. I'm a Taurus. But, and then when you look at all the necklaces, obviously, like, because I'm a designer, I'm constantly looking at what's popular. These giant chunky necklaces are back again.
Yep.
And there's brands like Found Ray that does these really great pendants of Zodiac inspired. So you can see on there that there's the sun and the lights, there's horns, there's actually the constellation for Taurus on there as well too. So, and the last thing I wanted to focus on is hands. Like, I wanted movement with outlines. So you'll see in this whole series that I use a lot of white outlines, which is not me at all. So you'll see a lot more framing going on with pointing of hands. So that's like the whole thing.
Okay, so, but just letting the viewers know, this series is actually going to last for 1 year, but then we only have 25 like prints for each illustration. So again, if you don't buy the Taurus right now, when it's sold out, we're not going to reprint the Taurus. So there is only one chance for you to get it, and there's only 25 people who will get it. So, and
don't worry if your Zodiac symbol isn't up here yet, wait for that month, it'll pop up.
Yes. Like for the next one, okay, we're gonna move to the next piece right now.
Yes.
So this is Gemini.
Yeah.
And this one is actually really cool. It's like, are they twins?
There are twins. So the Gemini is about twins because they're usually so busy and socially like interactive, and they're in everything that they basically need to clone themselves to survive. And so that is the symbolism of Gemini, is twins.
So so I see that in that illustration, one girl's hair is lighter than the other. Is there like a meaning to it?
I mean, with all twins, there's push and pull and balance, right? And so I wanted to kind of show almost a yin and yang of what a balance is to a Gemini, because sometimes they can go crazy. So yes, I wanted to make sure there's lightness in one and darkness in the other, and daylight, nighttime. Again, just like push and pull going back and forth. The symbol for Gemini is the twins. So their earrings actually each represent a half of each other. And then you can see the symbol on the necklace as well. So
super cool.
How long did again, white outlines, framing with the arm. So it's something that you'll continue to see.
Now I want to know, how many hours did you like?
Oh, this one, not as much as the first one, because when you start a series, you have to play around with what works and what doesn't work. So I would say this is a full 2 days for me because the jewelry is meticulously rendered. But I think the first one took several weekends just to kind of hash out.
Wow.
It's hard when you're doing a new style. Like you've got to see what works and what doesn't work. And the first one I sent to Glenn, and I was like, what's wrong here? And he's like, her hand is all like wonky. So then you have to fix all that, and it's a process, right? So
Absolutely. And do you enjoy this new style?
I do, because it's actually faster and it's fun to not have to be so meticulous on everything. It's cool to have a focal point. And again, because it's a zodiac, there is a little bit more galaxy feel to it and a little surrealism, but yeah, it's what I personally believe in anyway, so it's fun.
Cool. All right, so we are done showing people.
Oh, 1 sec.
What?
Oh, that's
Yes,
okay.
yes, we
I
can do
forgot they
that.
had the galaxy in the earring. It's fine.
Yes, what do you want to say?
Oh yeah. So their earrings actually, I mean, because I have a lot of them as well.
Yes.
The galaxy, the constellation is in each of their ears. That was fun to do.
I see.
I'm going to be hiding in each illustration, kind of hide the constellation. You have to kind of find it. So.
Okay, so basically now you have to play this whole where's Waldo thing, like look for that.
Where's the constellation? Actually, that's brilliant.
Yep, let's do that. All right, so we are done describing all your illustrations, and then you are actually going to work on what's the next sign?
Cancer.
Cancer.
Yes.
And do you have any like idea of what you're gonna do yet?
Cancer is a water sign, so like there's a lot of it's an interesting personality too, so they're kind of be sometimes shy or hidden back, so I'm going to be playing with that kind of motion, kind of maybe hiding part of their face because of that, but just their hands. And then I've been researching, well, because you can do fun stuff. Vogue.
Let's
Vogue.
do
And then you can play with the crabs. Like I got to figure out how to make that really fun. I found some like cool jewelry that I can do some earrings with, and like the claws, and I don't want to make it too nautical looking.
Yep.
But I also kind of want to nod to the fact that it is a water sign. So
very, very cool. So I am excited to see what you're gonna put at the Draw online store for that Zodiac series. And
coming soon.
Yeah, now you have the whole month, whole June, to actually buy the other pieces, the other 3 pieces. I know that you might actually will put one more piece out on the online store later on. So, 2.
There may or may not be a Cruella inspired one.
Oh, wow. Okay, so just keep people like guessing. Like,
and then the other one is going to be McQueen. So.
Okay, so we're gonna keep an eye and see, because if that's the case, I will have to invite you to talk about the cancer.
I know. I felt bad. I was like, we can just record it now because I know what it's gonna look like. I just haven't finished it yet. So
yes, I will you have an extra video coming up.
Sorry, guys. I'll probably have different glasses.
Yep, and then we'll talk again, and make sure you visit the online store and just buy the prints. I will
support an artist. Support an artist.
Yes. Thank you, and then I will see you guys later. Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.